Yes, so in terms of like casualty, especially like for soldiers, that has been decreasing as well.
Oh, hugely,
And
huge
so another hypothesis of the future is, well, if you do have automation, and whichever side effectively has better machines, and machines do the fighting.
Right.
So we're not going to talk about machine rights right now. I think it's too early for that.
I agree.
Maybe in 100 years, but whichever side wins, effectively, there's no human damage, and hopefully no collateral. And I would say it'll get to a point where it's cyber warfare, right? So you don't even have to have atoms, fighting with each other, where you can just, the bytes can figure it out, right?
But the collateral is high in cyber warfare.
Yes, it is. So one potential output could be that the algorithms figure out who's going to win or lose, and then the algorithms figure out, okay, here's the terms. And the humans
before we
move on
engage
with
in
it.
war, right?
Before we engage in war,
Right.
and we move on with our life. But then the question comes in, is if the algorithms are making all the decisions, who's deciding for the deciders?
It's the great question of our age, right? Is in machines that will need to make quick life and death decisions. They will. There already are some doing this, but it will increase the number of quote-unquote intelligent machines making very, very fast life and death decisions, and that it will be very difficult for us to understand how they came with that answer to the problems, because it's deep learning software becomes too complex for us to go back to it.
I mean, in fact, a lot of deep learning algorithms, even the creators cannot.
Right.
I mean, we know we can put in the input and we know the output,
right.
but what's really happening is, we don't really know.
But most of it will be, fairer, more just, less weighted down by biases, conscious and unconscious, than human beings. So you will eventually have two black boxes. We're already a black box. Human beings are a black box. So you and I can articulate all sorts of things, but we have ingrained, and behavioral economics has showed this well enough. Yeah. We have ingrained things that we don't not even aware of, biases and things we do. We're a black box, and sometimes we can articulate part of what makes us decide one thing instead of another, and especially when it comes into a human being who doesn't look exactly like me, or doesn't have the same gender, or the same size, the same skin color. I mean, you can multiply these things. And yes, but the humans are a huge black box. Machines will be, and they're already becoming a black box. But the way we're writing code right now is far from perfect. I understand that. Garbage in, garbage out, right? I mean, you use databases that are full of biases. It will create a system that's just going to reproduce this. But these discussions are ongoing. People are looking at it. They're worried about it. They're trying to make software that's much less biased than a human being. So yes, you will have a black box that's biased, but it'll be a much better one than a human being. And for things as simple as, getting a mortgage, we know that your size, your weight, the color of your skin, the way you speak, your gender, all of these things matter.
Yeah.
When you have to deal with the system, educational, financial, health. And again, some of these things are very unconscious, but they do matter. People are not treated the same way. And we can imagine a world where these things will be addressed from the get-go, from when we write code and algorithm, will be, try to be better, and mostly will probably be studied afterwards. Right? Mm-hmm. Now, we don't really know how to judge how a bank manager makes his decision, because how we're going to get back to it. But an algorithm that's going to judge 1,000 people is going to create data, and then we can go back to, okay, there's a problem here. Look, it's pretty clear. So this is like a incremental improvement that is much better than human beings, because we're just too. It's hard to find out why a human being is doing something instead of something else. And machines, with all their complexity, will be better built on that point, And we'll be able to go back to the data and saying, oh, there's a problem there, which we are already doing right now, right? People are going back to some of the data, some of the HR software that Google has created, for example, and saying, okay, this says you're not hiring any women, so let's rewrite the code. This is very positive. We don't know how, Bryn has hired people at Google. He can say I like women the way I probably will say I have no biases against women. Is that absolutely true in practice? I believe so. But if I was to hire 1,000 people, would I hire 50 to 50-50? There was an interesting study in the States done, I can't remember, recently, I believe, where they were looking at biases in judges, and they were asking, okay, compared to the median, do you think you have more biases or less biases than the median of judges? I don't know how they found the median with decisions, I guess. 95% said I have less biases than the median. So,
of course, I mean,
so we all think we're doing the right thing and we're acting fairly. The data says something else.
So I love how the 95%.
Or it's 90. It was more than 90%.
Yeah, we're 95% said we're less biased than the actual median itself.
Yes.
Which is a very human thing, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
we see that everywhere.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
So I'm optimistic about a better world with machines. And you talked about war again, and a lot of people, there's a lot of dystopian scenario with war machines and automated machines who can actually decide to kill by themselves. And if you look at the Montreal Declaration for AI, right?
Yeah.
They talk a lot about this. The problem with that is the problem I find with this, even though it was a very good document, the problem I find with this is we tend to say in all these documents that talk about the potential danger of AI is that we need a human in the loop, right? That's usually what we say.
And I asked, do we need a human in the loop?
Well, I would go even further and said, do you want a human in the loop? It's not like historically we've shown a lot of restraint in wars, in genocides, in torture, and in murder. It's not as if, in just the way we treat the environment now, do I rather have a human being or an algorithm for which, it's very clearly defined that this situation and this situation does not allow for the algorithm to shoot, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a church nearby, a school, whatever.
And it won't.
And it won't. Or do I have a human being who, feels all sorts of guilt and things I don't know what they are. Right? I don't know why that person is reacting, right? I don't know. Maybe that person had, stressful morning. Maybe a parent died. Maybe a kid is really sick in the hospital and the person has, a short fuse that day. I mean, these things do happen with human beings. So, am I worried about, automated robots that on the field? Yes. When I think of it, am I worried about human beings, in war and soldiers? Yes, I am. Probably more than robots.